My name is Szilvia Gyimóthy. I'm associate professor at the tourism research unit at the Aalborg University in Copenhagen in Denmark. And I have the great pleasure to come here to moderate and present on a session on the collaborative consumer. We are going to talk about sociological and consumption aspects about this very ephemeral consumer or tourist called the sharing tourist. I have the pleasure to have two speakers on this session apart from me. Dr. Maria del Pilar Leal from the Hostelería School of Tourism and Hospitality from Barcelona. And she's going to talk about a case on free tour guides in urban cities and in Barcelona. And then I have the pleasure to present Dr. Ángel Mesado, who is the head of public policy for Spain and Portugal, Airbnb. So we hope that with a good combination of academics and researchers and one of the biggest and more prominent actors in the sharing economy and tourism, we will have an interesting session. So why the elephant, you might ask? It is a referral to an old Hindi parable, which is about the story of 6 blind men who tried to go and see an elephant. And they were blind, so they were asked to touch different parts of the elephant. And they all said, well, the trunk is like a snake. So the elephant is like a snake. Some other one touched the side saying, it's like a wall. Then one grabbed around the legs saying, the elephant is like a tree. And the one in the back pulled the tail saying, no, it's like a rope, right? So they went all about and they discussed what each of them observed and talking about this is how the elephant is, yet neither of them have ever seen the whole animal. So we are going to talk a little bit the same about this elephant, the collaborative consumer and collaborative consumption. We are going to present bits and pieces and small perspectives from our own understanding who the sharing consumer or collaborative consumer is. But yet, we must see the elephant. And that is going to be a part of the journey we are going to do today and tomorrow. I would like to start to share my research about and go through quite large questions about why do we actually share? What are the drivers of the sharing economy? What are the sociological, anthropological explanations and understanding of shared consumption? I'm going to talk about how do we share, how we can create value online and offline together with consumers rather than for consumers. I'm going to talk a bit about who is sharing. How can we talk about not individual sharing customers, but communities of consumption. And last but not least, I hope that I have some time to give you 2 slides on some takeaways for the afternoon session on the future workshop or dream workshop that Anna is moderating. How to engage with the collaborative consumer. How can we size collaborative trends, consumers, and communities? So why do we share? Diane has touched upon quite briefly in her earlier session is that there are some major global drivers that seem to give a boost to the collaborative economy. There are some market failures, there are some governmental failures that are leading to symptoms and opportunities that strengthen the need of doing something different than what we have always been doing in tourism. There is an ecological footprint of humanity that is becoming unbearable for many parts of the earth. There is waste, there is overcapacity. We have many consumers have lost their faith or trust in multinational corporations, or they are not trusting governments of being able to do anything about market failures or ecological failures. So there would be a heightened consumer awareness that we as individuals could do something different, that we could step up and be active and conscious and reflexive consumers. And this is very, very nicely captured in a small advertisement for a fair trade label, rainforest products, that I'm going to show you in a minute. And I hope that I have got sound on it.
You are a good person. You spend time with your family. You work out at the gym.
Come on, push.
You conserve water while showering. You like nice clothes. You give to charity. You recycle. You drive a Prius, but you use your bike when you can. You enjoy the occasional distraction at work, and you always send a card on Mother's Day. Always. But there's a part of you that tells yourself that you're not so good, that you could be doing more, that the world is falling apart at the seams, and all you've been doing is yoga. One day you see that the rainforest is being destroyed at a staggering rate of 32 million acres a year. That's the equivalent of one football field every 78 seconds. You feel bad, angry, guilty. You've been apathetic for too long. You want to do something about it. You must do something about it. Well, this is what you're not going to do.
I quit!
You're not going to quit your job, leave your family, get on the next flight to Nicaragua, take a bus to the edge of the jungle, then hoof it across rivers, lakes, and streams on a quest to the very heart of the rainforest.
Take me to the heart of the rainforest.
You're getting closer. You're almost there. You have arrived.
You're not going to ingratiate yourself with the local tribesmen, go to great lengths to earn their respect and trust.
No.
It is around now you realize you're living out the cliché gringo fantasy of becoming an honorary native and leading the resistant forces. But screw it. If they could do it, so can you.
I'm gonna save you! This guy comes over here, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna pull a zap-ding bats right through him, right over here.
You're not going to coordinate and occupy the rainforest movement, realize it's hopeless, summon the power of the gods, lead a revolution against the deforesters and their multinational employers in an apocalyptic, once-and-for-all battle to save humanity, only to awaken 2 days later in an El Salvadorian hospital with 2 toes missing on your left foot.
Syria, I wanna go home!
Hobble out of Central America, up through Mexico, across the Sierra Madre, where you break down, have your first cigarette in 4 years, accidentally start a wildfire, killing off the endangered species that once served as your occupational distraction, finally make it back home, only to find you've been replaced at work by a guy named TJ, and that things at home are not what they used to be. You're not going to do any of these things, but what you can do is follow the frog. Buying Rainforest Alliance certified products ensures the future of our rainforests, so that you don't have to do the things you shouldn't do anyway. Just follow the frog.
Okay. Can we identify with him a little bit? It is that we get all these good intentions and great empathy about what is happening with the world, with the ecological disaster that is not in our backyard. We should do something. And how convenient we have labeled goods and products that are enabling us to nurture our bad consciousness. You can have rainforest labeled goods, fair trade products, in order to balance our bad consciousness. But these The advert that we have seen is very cliche-like. It is highlighted a white middle-class male customer with a good job, with a good family life to engage in societal and ecological issues. What we have to think about when we look at the sharing consumer and the conscious consumer, that is very much working in a similar way, working in a similar logic. And we can see that sharing is something that has always been around in human coexistence. It's not something that has come with the digital era, but we have been doing for ages. We have pooled our resources because of a number of different things, because of necessity, because of resource scarcity, because of reciprocity. We are sharing with other people dinners, houses, because it's something that we get back. There is a social glue and a social element in sharing. We can share because of altruism. There is a moral concern. We can share to stick out, to make an identity statement, buying sharing economy products to state and label that we are good people, as the guy in the advertisements. But it can also be an explanation for sociability and identification, that you want to be a part of a larger group who actually do care about environmental issues or social issues. Finally, not least, there are also some pragmatic reasons to engage with the sharing economy. It can be because of convenience, time, cost, access, that makes it easier to engage in these products. So we can see that sharing has a number of motivational facets and motivational aspects. It can be ecological, moral, cultural, pragmatic, and economical reasons. It is about living the local life. It is about cost and environmental consciousness. So sharing has always been here. This is not very new. What is new then in the sharing turn? And I think that Angela and Maria would also talk about it. It is that sharing for years and centuries was always related to sharing, resourcing with people we know, with the village society, with our families, with our friends. But now, because of the technological advances, we can facilitate sharing on a much larger scope. We can invoke the global village community through these platform-based exchanges that Diane was talking about. We are sharing among strangers. We can upscale small-scale and local sharing practices on a global scale. We can connect strangers online on various types of digitally facilitated platforms. And that means that we have to think of what would be the implications of strangers engaging in market exchanges with themselves. How are we going to moderate issues of trust, guarantees, reciprocities? How are we going to do it? And if you look at the number of names that are also been related to the sharing economy, we can see that there are a number of different synonyms and a number of different logics that are underneath. Some of them is talking about economy, others are talking about consumption. What is the most important to look at here, the sharing turn, when we try to understand how do we actually share with people, that there are basically two different archetypes of sharing models. One of them is the online connectivity of so-called auto-mediated networks. So that means sharing among peers, peer-to-peer networks, when you do not have any market intermediary in between peers. Peer-to-peer networks are operating, basically they are the upgraded version of local exchange trade systems, You have seen them, for example, with couch surfing. There is a closed membership community, so you can be a couch surfer if you are both have a couch and can vouch with your couch for other guests. And there are some social ties in between the members of couch surfers. There are hierarchies, and you can vouch for the other members by giving them points. What is interesting in peer-to-peer networks that the medium of exchange is not monetary, not necessarily monetary, but other types of assets. It can be time, it can be goods, it can be a reputation, it can be expertise. This is why we call it the auto-mediated network. As opposed to that, so we also see a rise of a whole new generation of business models where we have a virtual intermediary stepping in to absorb the issues of liability, risk, and guarantees in the exchange between strangers. These market intermediaries are commercial brokers or middlemen that have institutionalized and regulated the interaction between strangers. Airbnb would be such a market-mediated network, but there are a number of other ones that I have also seen in Diane's presentation. The medium of exchange here is monetary, so it's not just pro-social altruistic sharing, but there is also a monetary exchange included. So where would be those networks? Where would be those peers? Where would be the willing consumers? How we could engage with them? And I have a number of slides on that. Consumer culture theory would tell us that we can think of consumers as tribes. So we do not have to address altruistic, conscious, reflexive consumers individually. You would think of that there are communities of consumption that are related to fandom, sport fanatism, war buffs, foodies, fashionistas who are interested, who are a heterogeneous network of people linked by a shared passion for food or for fashion or for history. And these tribes are really interesting because they would have a social hierarchy. They would engage in a social system. They would convene online or offline. They would have rituals. They would have community web page. They would have specialized magazines. They would have events. So it would be quite easy to address them collectively. And always with a tribe, you can identify the virtual or physical anchoring places. You can identify the central figures in a tribe, especially if it's a sport fanatic tribe like a snowboarder tribe. You would see who are the professional snowboarders who are almost like the icons and the opinion leaders within the tribes. And outside in the broader circles of the tribe, you would see devotees, or you would see wannabes, or other people who are also very positive about the tribal consumption, but they do not engage in a similar passion in tribal activities. What kind of tribes do exist? Already from the 10, 15 years ago, we could see that the research have described a number of different typologies of consumer communities. The most obvious have been brand communities who were characterizing passion for a particular brand. So it could be the brand communities for Barbie dolls, or Harley Davidson motorcycles, or FC Barcelona. There would be a very strong non-geographical fan community related to one single product or brand. Then we would also have neo-tribes who are sharing a devotion to a cause or a lifestyle or a hobby. So snowboarders would be neotribes. They are temporary and fragmented. They are heterogeneous in terms of demography. There would be a social hierarchy in this kind of tribe also. Last but not least, we can think of tribes in terms of subcultures or taste cultures. And they would be tribes that do have a more homogeneous geographical, demographical, ethnic or age cohort. So the hipsters, the millennials, or the prosumers are all taste cultures who would be easy to identify through geographical or demographical characteristics. And these last ones are interesting. For instance, the devil is not wearing Prada, but now it's sharing Prada. According to Waterhouse report on prosumers, the taste cultures of millennials and hipsters are driving the collaborative sharing economy trends. Two more slides. So who are sharing? Who are these prosumers? Who are the ones, the avant-garde, who are driving the sharing economies? At the moment being, there are a number of reports that are being done in various parts of the world, in the UK, in Europe and the US. Nesta, Havas, Pricewaterhouse had tried to survey large numbers of the society to figure out who is engaged in sharing. And they would all say that there is an uneven demographical and geographical distribution of the sharing consumers. They are reflective, they are engaged, but also they are the ones who are resourceful, who are well off, who are economically active, who are mobile. They are digitally literate population. So not everybody is equally benefiting from or engaging in the sharing economy. They share out of choice, not of necessity. So if you remember the advert I showed you earlier, it is the archetype of the young, resourceful, working white middle-class family who are involved in sharing. Also, it's an urban phenomenon. If you look at the statistics of Airbnb, most of those 10 million, 12 million overnight stays, or even more, yes. They are realized in urban centers. It's in Copenhagen, it's in Barcelona, it's in New York, it's in Amsterdam. But the sharing economy does not seem to disperse into the countryside and to rural areas because it thrives on resource density. So you would see that the sharing would be unevenly distributed. So I'm conscious about taking all your time. I would give two short thinking triggers for trying to find out how we can engage with those prosumers, with those sharing economy consumers. How we can rethink structures of value creation. How we can think about tapping into those market demands and needs and concerns that are popping up everywhere. Diane was talking about entrepreneurship and thinking about reinvigorating different types of entrepreneurship. And what I can give you as a takeaway is to think of building new business models that are actually based on old forms of sharing. So what type of different sharing do exist? Building social connections, reinforcing the social glue. We have shared dinner for a long time within the families or friends, and dinner sharing now is one of the sharing economic concepts. Well, there is not one dinner sharing enterprise, but several ones. Another old form of sharing was about recirculating tangible goods. We have got an overflow of tangible assets, how we can recirculate it in the larger community. neighbor or city bikes, borrow our tools, and a number of sharing economy concepts are using that type of business model. Optimum use of idle capacity, for instance, meet on demand for office space. Swapping local services valued in local currency. So instead of using a monetary exchange, we are using local currency like SADEX or the BRICS and pound in order to redistribute local services or swap or barter them without money. Last but not least, you can also think about sharing intangible assets, knowledge, skills, service, labor, and this is what Maria is going to talk about in just some minutes. So, for the future workshops in the afternoon, you can think of capturing the tribes and communities of consumption with hybrid business models. A business model could think of uniting different types of rationales, such as economic systems, platforms, networks, and ties. It touches into how we can make transaction possible. It can unite and include important aspects of the cultural or moral imperatives of human coexistence. So it's about lifestyle, stewardship, pro-social behavior, crowdsourcing, symbiosis, how we can do things together, how we can care together. And last but not least, it also should include an element that is indicating a higher efficiency, enhanced value creation, full interconnectedness, optimized capacity use, or the recirculation of idle resources. I think one of the great ideas that I have seen in many places, and many hotel chains are actually engaging in that, is the meet-on-demand concept for opening up lobby spaces and idle conference capacity in hotels to make it available for day trippers and co-working spaces for visitors around. This is what I had to say for today, and I'm going to call Maria, who will talk about free travel guides in Barcelona.